1 2 1 2, audio check. Welcome back everybody, we are here for the second race of this evening here at Motive for the GT4 Championship. As obviously we're at Oschersleben. If you didn't already know, if you weren't with us for the first round or for the first race here tonight, but Mike was the driver who took the win, and in the end he pulled away a little bit from Champ and Cobb, who had a good battle for second place. Champ ended up P2 and Cobb ended up P3. Potter Brown was the long time leader over the course of the race and managed to keep the other guys at bay for a lot of laps. It was about 3 or 4 laps from the end. He made a small mistake coming out the final corner, and Mike made the move and took the lead into turn 1. But yeah, it was a great race, really exciting battle from the top 4, and hoping for more of the same here in this second race of the night, as Mike, their provisional pole position, extends his gap at the moment. John Wood doing a much better job in this qualifying session than he did in the first race. He seems to be getting to grips with the car and showing he's got the pace. Maybe the consistency isn't quite there, but he's certainly got some pace here in these GT4s. The consistency will come with experience, so it will just be a case of, I think, getting a few teething issues here for John Boy, and he should be there or thereabouts on the pace. But we see somebody losing it there. That's actually Mike who loses it coming through turn 4, and he's actually unfortunately screwed the lap there of somebody who was just coming through. Totally Zero seems to be disconnecting every few seconds, so clearly some connection issues there for him. Not quite sure what those are all about, but nonetheless, Mike there into the pits, so he's not going to improve on his current provisional pole time. So the slate is clear for anybody else to plumb a lap in and try and get P1. John Boy's currently coming through the final few corners, and he gets a bit out of shape there going into the final corner. If there was track limits on, that would be a penalty, but we like to trust our drivers here at Motive, so there are no track limit penalties. But if you are seen violating the track limits excessively, then the penalties will be more severe than the game would be giving you penalties for, let's just say that. But John Wynn nonetheless starting his final lap of this session here for the qualifying here, as we see somebody in the foreground getting out of shape, and John Boy's lost it there coming through turn 1 and 2, and that's going to be his lap ruined. So basically I think that's his hopes of getting pole over. Aussie and Champ coming out of the pits, which there is absolutely 0 point in doing, because there is not enough time to get another lap in. So they're coming round, but they're not going to be able to do much, because they're leaving the pits with they left the pits with 40 seconds on the clock. So I'm not quite sure what the point in that is, but nonetheless, a few drivers finishing the flying laps that they're currently on. Parkpooper comes over to go P8. Nice lap there from him. Smokey Devil coming into the final corner. What can he do? Currently 9th place in this session at the moment, as he comes up towards the line. What is it going to be for Smokey Devil? Here is it, comes over the line now, and it's P8, so he pushes Parkpooper down a position. Nicely done there from Smokey. Nick Lavilla's coming down the back straight. You've got Potter Brown, he's just got 1 corner to go. This man was 4th in the first race of the night. He kept Mike at bay for a number of laps, and also Cobb and Champ as well. Up towards the line, what can Potter Brown do here in this qualifying session? Over the line he comes, stays P11, which is, I'm surprised to be honest, because the amount of laps that he kept Mike behind, I thought he'd be a contender here. But Nick nonetheless out of the final corner. Can he improve on P10? Just under 3 seconds off for the pace, as over the line he comes, and he stays in 10th place, so no changes there for Nick Lavilla. But 4 seconds covering all 14 drivers here tonight. It is going to be Mike who'll line up on pole position, I believe, unless anybody's out there on a lap. I think everybody's finished their laps. LFRD is actually coming down the back straight, so it looks like he came over the line to start 1 more lap here. Parkpooper is actually on a flying lap, so I didn't realise that Parkpooper had crossed the line before we got to the 0 second mark, and he's 4 tenths up through the middle sector here. So Parkpooper maybe can get Smokey Devil potentially. Can he get Doris Deer at the end of this session as well? Maybe P7 on the cards for Parkpooper if he can nail this final corner. Over the line he comes, or up towards the line he comes. Parkpooper crosses the line now, and it's P8, so he misses out on P7. He lost a bit of time in the final sector there, but still managed to nab Smokey Devil there for 8th place. LFRD over the line, can he improve? Let's see, he was P6, and he stays P6. So Mike taking pole with John Boy. A much better performance from him in the qualifying session here for for the second race. John Boy takes second on the grid, will line up alongside his old rival on the front row, Cobb and Aussie on the second row, with Champ and LFRD in 5th and 6th, followed by Thorister and Park Pooper, with Smokey Devil and Nick the Villa completing the top 10. They're going to Pop the Brown, followed by RJ Dale, M. Afford and Big Blue at the back of the grid here for this 14-man race. For unfortunately missing Totally Zero, as his connection was clearly having some kind of issue here. This is going to be the only standing start that we have of tonight. The other two are both rolling starts, but the middle race is always a standing start. We have the qualifying session which sets the grid, so there's no need for formation lap to get ourselves in order, but they've already done that themselves. So it's all about who can get the best start, who can minimise that wheel spin, who can have the best reaction to the lights going out, and obviously avoid jumping the start. That's obviously key as well, because if you jump the start, then let's just say it's definitely not worth it, because you get a drive-through penalty which is cost you about 20 seconds of race time. Bear in mind, if you jump the start, you might make a couple of seconds up, maybe a couple of places, but I don't think it's worth losing 20 seconds of race time personally, in my opinion. And I don't think any of these guys will think that's the case either, but nonetheless, we are here on the grid getting ready to go for the second race of the evening here, ladies and gentlemen. And if you guys are watching this back afterwards, any of the drivers, be sure to share it with your friends, families and otherwise associates. And if you're watching live, then also feel free to share it around, hit the like button. And if you're watching for the first time, then be sure to get involved at www.motiveracing.com as well. But yeah, exciting times here for this what's still a relatively young season. Obviously we started last week, everything was put together a bit late notice, so didn't have the turnout we wanted last week, but we've got a fantastic turnout here this week. We have 15 drivers turn up, but only 14 on the grid, because unfortunately Totally Zero's internet appears to be playing up pretty horrifically. But nonetheless, we are getting ready to go racing here at the Oschersleben for this second race of the evening. As here we go, just syncing up now, moments away from the start. 3 red lights on, and it's lights out and away we go. And there was a very fast starting Porsche there. Did it jump the start though? That's the question. It was LFRD who came flying off of the line, but John Boy has jumped Mike off of the line. LFRD challenging John Boy and has taken the lead here into turn 1, but John Boy down the inside gets the lead back off of him there. John Boy's done a great job, great start off the line to jump Mike, and Mike's dropped down to P5 here, so Mike with a nightmare of a start. Aussie up his inside there, moving ahead of him, but Mike looking to the inside of Champ now. Champ getting a poor run coming out of turn 3. Aussie, Champ and Mike in close proximity here as they come down the straight, as Champ there just squeezing ahead of Aussie down the inside into turn 4, as LFRD's lost out to Mike, and now it's got Cobb poking up his inside as well. Bit of contact there between them as Cobb's trying to get this move done. LFRD getting pushed out a little bit there, Cobb moving himself through up into P5. Good move there from Cobb, getting his elbows out a little bit, but John Boy has taken the lead on this opening lap. Champ there running in second place ahead of Aussie, followed by Mike. You got Cobb there in P5 ahead of LFRD, followed by Park Pooper, Smokey down in 8th place ahead of Doris Steer. Then you've got Nick Lavilla running in P10. RJ Dale Pop the Brown with Big Blue in 13th, and M. Afford has had a nightmare of an opening lap to this race. He is down in 14th place, and that could have not gone much worse for him, I don't think. As we see them all coming down the back straight here for the first time in this second race of the night. And no major dramas so far, no big collisions or damage on anybody's cars. For the time being, they're all keeping it clean. But John Boy, a revelation in this second race so far, as Nick Lavilla getting it a bit wrong going through the chicane. Smokey's through up into 8th place there. Nick taking to the grass a little bit and losing a bit of momentum. But John Boy has been absolutely fantastic on this first lap. He is putting daylight between himself and Champ, as Mike's put himself back up into 3rd ahead of Aussie. So Mike's made up 1 place since dropping down to made up 2 places since he dropped down to P5, but obviously he got ahead of Hardy very quickly after dropping behind him. But Park Pooper trying to defend from Nick. You've got RJ Dale ahead of Pop the Brown, who was our leader obviously for a lot of the first race. Smokey into the pits here at the end of lap 1. So has he got damage on the car? He must do, because there's no reason, unless he jumped the start maybe. LFRD was also a driver who I thought got off the line far too quickly. It seemed a bit too good to be true for him, but we'll have to see whether or not it was a jump start. Could have just been a very, very good reaction time. But as I said, it looked a bit too good to be true. I don't really see how he could have anticipated it that much better than everybody else. RJ Dale looking all over the back of Champ at the moment, but Pop the Brown in the back of him. Oh, Potter Brown's got into the back of him there. And RJ Dale and Potter Brown coming together. That's given Cobb position there up into 8. Cobb's not had the best opening up of the laps to this race, but he's gained a place there. RJ Dale's lost out to Big Blue, so Big Blue now running in P10 between Potter Brown and RJ Dale at this point. As John Boy continuing to gradually extend his gap at the moment over Mike. And Nick Lavilla there going a bit deep, going through the chicane, but keeping his momentum nonetheless there. And Muffin and Doris Steer battling over P12 and 13 at the moment as they're going down the back straight here at the coming towards the end of lap 2. But John Boy over the line, continuing to open up his gap. Mike into second place, obviously with Cobb making his mistake, dropping down a few places down to 8th place. And that is the Ginetta there going deep. That's Parpooper there getting it wrong and onto the grass, and he's going to be vulnerable here. He's going to lose out a couple more places there. So Parpooper went a bit, overcooked it going into turn 1, and has lost out there to Nick Lavilla and Champ. Champ though trying to attack on Nick Lavilla at the moment as they're coming into turn 4. Champ obviously had a good race in the first race. Oh, LFRD's got it wrong. Onto the grass there. It's going to lose out to both of them. Oh, and Nick and Champ trying to avoid him and going into each other. What's happened in the end of that one? Champ returning onto the track ahead of Nick, and no dramas in terms of position losses at the moment. But LFRD losing it again there, wide onto the runoff. Loses out to Cobb. Cobb up into 7th place. Cobb there though deep to the next corner. LFRD's going to poke his nose back up the inside, and they're still side by side, these two. Cobb there wide, gets pushed out by LFRD, and there's more contact. Oh no, handbags between them two. LFRD and Cobb go into the wall. They're both going to have damage on the cars as well there. What a bit of a pickle that was. LFRD dropping down the order. Cobb has absolutely plummeted down this classification here. He's now running in P10. He's behind Big Blue and RJ Dale here. LFRD's lost a few places as well, but that was ridiculous. As LFRD was returning to the track, or Cobb was returning to the track, one of them was returning to the track and just unnecessarily banged doors with each other there. That was very avoidable indeed between those two. But we watched the battle here between Champ and Nick as they're battling over 4th and 5th places. John Boy has only got just over a second of a gap here over Mike now, so Mike is hunting him down. Aussie keeping these guys on their toes as well here. The 3 leaders though are gapping everybody else. Champ's still ahead of Nick. Obviously he's now pulling away from Nick, having got that move done. He can now try and cement that 4th place, but he's 6 seconds behind the leaders, so I think it'd be a bit of a tall order for him to catch up to the leaders. Maybe he might be aiming for Aussie's 3rd place, but if Aussie's consistent, I doubt that Champ will be able to make up 6 seconds on him. But we see RJ Dale not too far behind Cobb at the moment. There's a big battle going on here though for 9th place. You've got the lap car there of Smokey in the middle of these two at the moment, or just in front of them actually. But Cobb there with big damage on the car, which he's elected not to fix, so he clearly thinks that he can drive around with it and lose less time by just putting up with it than he will by actually fixing it. So Cobb for the time being grinning and bearing it out there at the moment. John Boy's still leading, but Mike is breathing down his neck in this battle for the lead as they're coming through towards the end of lap 4, and you can see there that Mike is poised to do something. If John Boy makes the slightest little mistake here, goes deep into a corner, then Mike will be ready to pounce. Aussie's still keeping tabs with him, but it's not like he's quite on these two's pace at the moment. But saying that, if they trip over each other, then he will be Johnny on the spot waiting to capitalise. But Mike to the inside on John Boy coming into turn 1, too far back at the moment. As he did he tap him a bit there? I'm not quite sure. It looked like he might have done. John Boy driving a very defensive race here. I'll tell you what, one thing that is advantageous in the GT4s compared to the Clios, it's a lot easier to defend in the GT4s. Overtaking is a lot more difficult in the GT4s than it is in the Clios. So obviously we've seen situations where John Boy's been defending from Mike and Mike's found his way through. It might not be as easy for Mike to make that move this time around. Potentially he could face a much stiffer task. Could Mike of actually making this move, and so John Boy could theoretically hold him up for this entire race if he plays his cards right and parks his car in the right places here. As here come the two leaders down the back straight. for the 5th time here in this second race of the night. And Mike there just getting a little bit closer down the straight, but not close enough to make a move under braking at this point. And Aussie is consistently dropping off at the pace of these guys, so he is starting to fall off a little bit. Big Blue still just ahead of Cobb at the moment. Cobb getting a little bit closer down the end of the back straight, but not close enough just there. And John Boy still in the lead at the moment by about half a second over Mike. Mike a bit deep there going through turn 1, but keeping it together. Aussie there in 3rd place, not too far off the back of these guys at the moment. But John Boy's opened up a bit of a gap to Mike over the course of this first sector. In fact, on the previous lap, John Boy was actually 2.5 tenths quicker than Mike. So really does look like John Boy starting to feel at ease with these GT4 cars. He's getting better and better as the laps go on. And Mike's struggling to keep up with him at this point, and Aussie's struggling to keep up with both of these two. So John Boy is starting to get to grips with these, and could we be seeing a similar sort of battle between John Boy and Mike as we've been seeing in previous seasons in the touring cars and obviously the Clios as well. Harpooper's still all over the back of Nick De Villa in this battle for P5. These two not a million miles off of the leaders, but Champ is pulling away from them in 4th place. Champ though not really able to close the gap to the top 3 at this stage. I was saying earlier on, Champ's target must surely be Aussie Albie in P3. But he's 6 seconds behind him. He's lapping about half a second a lot quicker though at this stage in the race, so that'll be one to watch probably in the closing stages to see if Champ can put Aussie Albie under a little bit of pressure at the end. Saying that though, Aussie was 2 tenths quicker than Champ on that previous lap, so not at the rate he's going. But John Boy just under a second ahead of Mike at this stage. Nick De Villa's got Harpooper still close on the back of him there going into turn 1, but no cigar at the moment. LFRD with a bit of a damaged Porsche there is still looking to make the move there. What's happened here? Oh, we've got somebody around. Big Blue there in the wall. He's got damage, and LFRD's damage has just been made even worse there. No, it wasn't Big Blue, sorry. I do apologise. Oh, it was the lap car of Smokey. So it was Smokey there who put it in the wall as he was being lapped, and LFRD caught no. Oh, God. No, it was LFRD who was caught up in it, but Smokey there dropping way behind at this point. John Boy still ahead of Mike, half a second between these two at the moment. Aussie Albie 3 seconds off of the leader. He's dropping off at the pace consistently at this point. Champ has had a bit of a scruffy lap here. He's only 2 seconds ahead of Nick De Villa and Harpooper at the moment, so it's not been the lap this time around that Champ would have needed. But Mike here nonetheless half a second off at the back of John Boy. Has had a better lap this time around. John Boy 34.9. Mike comes over and does a 34.8, so Mike's slightly quicker, but these two really blow for blow at the moment. It's ebbing and flowing, this gap, but Mike's still keeping John Boy under significant pressure. Champ's only got 3 seconds back to Nick De Villa. Harpooper's made a mistake because he's now well behind Nick De Villa, so not quite sure where that's happened, but Harpooper's dropped it or run wide maybe somewhere out there. Cobb's still running in 7th. RJ Dale and Doris Steer battling it out over 8th and 9th places at the moment, as Doris has got a much better run coming down the start finish straight, and it's going to surely make a move here into turn 1, or he's going to at least think about it. Here we come towards the braking zone. Doris Steer looking to the inside. He goes up the inside late on the brakes, and RJ Dale goes a bit deep as he just keeps it around the outside there. Doris Steer hit the inside curve going through turn 1, lost him a bit of momentum there as LFRD deep there going through turn 1, and that's going to allow someone else. Big Blue. What? Yeah, Big Blue. LFRD back and Big Blue side by side here into turn 4, and LFRD down the inside back up into 10th place once again. Great little dive between those two. as John Boy's still under pressure from Mike. He's still holding on, isn't he? Look at this. He's just about hanging in there at this point. And we've lost M. Afford from the session. What a shame there to see him retire from the race midway through. Hopefully he can jump back in for the final race of the night. But M. Afford not enjoying himself out there at the moment. But we're watching the two leaders here coming down the start-finish straight here to start lap 9 of the race. Mike a bit closer here, but still not close enough as they come into turn 1. But these two putting on a great show. They're close as anything, so evenly matched, which it wasn't looking to be the case in the first race, I've got to say. But John Boy's just suddenly found his groove here. Whatever it was he was missing in the first race, whether or not he forgot to ready up his setup or something, I don't know. But whatever issues were plaguing him in the first race, they're certainly not present for this second race. Thorsteer still on the back of RJ Dale, hasn't been able to get ahead of him. Elefaldi's got ahead of Big Blue. Big Blue though trying to come back at him, coming out of the final corner. Over the line we come to start lap 9. Big Blue in that slipstream. Is he going to have a chance to come back at him here? As they come into turn 1, he's going to have a look up the inside. Is he going to send one? That's the question. And he thinks better of that one. Elefaldi holds on to that one for now. Really clouts the curb there. They're going through turn 2. Put him on 2 wheels momentarily. So here we come out of turn 3. Elefaldi a bit wide, but it's got the momentum there to hold on ahead of Big Blue for the time being. Back to the leaders there. John Boy and Mike still separated by barely anything at the moment, just under 3/10 of a second separating them. Ozzy Albi running in 3rd place has got a big gap back to Champ, who's starting to now put out the gap to Nick Lavilla, who's now 5 seconds behind him in 5th place. He's a fair way ahead of Park Pooper, who's running in P6 at this point. Park Pooper 4 seconds ahead of Cobb, and Cobb is closing on Park Pooper by about 2 seconds a lap, so Cobb could be fancying a P6 here at the end of this race, potentially looking a bit further ahead. Maybe Nick Lavilla on his radar. He's only 8 seconds behind him, saying that he'd have to pick up the pace a little bit. And Mike's taking the lead, but John Boy's fighting back as they come through turn 2. Mike there must have got the cut back there coming out of turn 1. John Boy is keeping himself right there on the back of him at the moment, as they're going to be really close here, bumper to bumper, coming down the second straight. But Mike's got that move done. He's made it stick here. John Boy looking to the inside. Mike defending it half-heartedly. Didn't really need to fully defend it because John Boy didn't have any of his car alongside. But Mike has made the move for the lead of the race here at the beginning of lap 10. And what has John Boy got to answer back here? Mike's been pressuring him for the last few laps, and finally John Boy has cracked. It's taken a while as he gets onto the curb a little bit there, but didn't lose him any momentum. But what a shake-up here this is, as Mike here takes the lead of the race on lap 10 for this second race of the night here at the Oschersleben. Obviously race 5 of a 45 race season here at Motive for the GT4 Championship here on Project Cars 2. Riding on board with John Boy as we come down the back straight. Coming towards the closing stage of this second race of the night. Mike seems to have nicked it for the time being, but can he hold on to it? It's going to be a nail-biting final few laps of this race, I'll tell you that. But John Boy's going to be kicking himself with that one. He's been doing a fantastic job in this second race after a nightmare of an opening race. The first race of tonight was his first race, his seasonal reappearance here at Motive, as he wasn't here for either of the championship last week, for either the GT4s or the touring cars. So this is his return to action here tonight, and he's currently all over the back of Mike as they come into turn 1. See, they come down the back straight once again, but John Boy still a little bit too far back to come up with the reply to Mike at this stage in the race. No real battles going on elsewhere at the moment. This is it. This is really where it's all going on at the moment. John Boy slightly quicker than his personal best through the first sector, so obviously showing signs of intent here in trying to get the lead back. And Mike there goes deeper. John Boy slips through. Mike there with a little bit of a mistake, running wide. Just a little lapse of concentration there for Mike was all that John Boy needed. John Boy now hits the front once again as Mike there tags the grass going into the chicane. John Boy was right there to make the move when he needed to do it, and he now leads the race once again. He led the first 10 laps. He made a small mistake which allowed Mike in, but Mike has now done the exact same thing. These two putting each other under the cosh here tonight. What a great fight they're having. They're 5 seconds clear of Ozzy Albi, so even if they were made to make a mistake, they're pretty much safe now to the rest of them. But what a great battle this is out the front. John Boy once again in the lead of the race, but can he hold it this time? 3 laps left to go here at the Oschersleben for the second race of the night. I'm just noticing here that Champ is in the pits, so he must have some damage. Yeah, he has. Champ's got some big damage. He will start from the front for the final race of the night, so that will be advantageous there for him. But nonetheless, frustrating second race here. But we watch John Boy and Mike here coming out of turn 3 as they come down the second straight once again here. Mike a little bit further away from John Boy, and John Boy was to him on the previous lap, but John Boy wide. He's making mistakes in the same part of the track where Mike made his mistake on the last lap, and Mike's going to capitalise there, moves himself through, and these two making the same mistakes, almost identical errors here from these two in the space of 2 laps, and Mike takes the lead back up at John Boy. John Boy's still right there on the back of him though, as they come to the this middle part of the circuit here. John Boy's still keeping Mike honest here at the front, but this is a great fight, and it's going back and forth between them lap after lap after lap. But Mike once again in the right place at the right time. What has John Boy got to offer him again here as they come down the back straight? Mike now weaving around trying to break that toe. John Boy just went a little bit too wide, got onto the curb, bit of grass as well. Once you're on that curb, you're basically going to the grass unless you counter steer. If you counter steer, you're more likely to spin it. But Mike there wide coming out of the third to last corner, and John Boy's going to swoop around the outside. Can he complete this move? He does make the move. John Boy into the final corner, leads the race, goes a little bit sketchy there. Mike just tags him in the rear going out of the final corner. As we come over the line here to start the penultimate lap of the race, it's John Boy who leads once again. What a race this is shaping up to be between these two. He's defending the inside line. He's parking his car in the place where Mike knows he wants to put his car, as Mike is going to try around the outside of turn 1. He's got the inside for turn 2. John Boy gives him the space, and he can't go for the cutback because Mike judged his braking point to absolute perfection. Mike there taking the lead once again coming out of turn 3. John Boy's still right on the back of him, but he's not got the run to make the move into turn 4. He looks to the outside. He's going to try and go around the outside here of this never-ending left-hand bend, but Mike again parks his car on the inside, and there's no way back through there for John Boy. Unbelievable racing here from these two, and Mike once again leads this race. John Boy has been gifted the lead back 3 times, and every time he's then gone and made another mistake. These two swapping and changing like nobody's business, and whilst this is happening, Ozzy Albi's closing the gap to both of them, but he's too far behind. I think 4.5 seconds. He's not going to be able to make that up over the course of the next 2 laps, unless these two were to take each other out. I think these two are going to finish 1 and 2, but which one of them is it going to be? That's the question, as they come down the back straight here for the penultimate time in race 2. And John Boy getting a little bit closer to Mike in the slipstream, but he's not close enough to make any moves at this point. But what a fight it is between these two in these GT4s. Obviously we've seen them go toe to toe in the Clio so many times, but it was getting a bit deja vu, to be honest, watching them season after season in the same cars. And now we're watching them in completely different cars, but once again so evenly matched as we've seen throughout the seasons here at Motive Racing. As we come over this line to complete the penultimate lap, onto the final lap of the race we go. John Boy in the slipstream here, he's going to be too far back to make a move into turn 1, but can he put Mike under significant pressure here to force him into a mistake and nick the win here? They swapped positions about 6 times in the last 5 laps. John Boy led for the first 9 laps of the race, and they were just followed the leader for the first few laps, but then since Mike took the lead for the first time, they've then swapped positions again, lap after lap after lap, sometimes more than once on the same lap. But what can John Boy do here now? He's keeping pace with him. He's doing his fastest first sector of the race so far in his attempts to try and derail Mike's win in this second race. Mike obviously took the win in the first race. He's looking to try and make it 2 from 2 so far tonight. What can John Boy throw at him in the final half a lap here? He's always just tapping the rear of him there, just unsettling the back of Mike's car. Mike a little bit wide onto the runoff, onto the artificial grass. Oh, John Boy now down the inside of the chicane. Mike holding it around the outside, cut the exit a little bit, was on the curve. I think it was borderline. I think it was just about alright there for Mike, but down the back straight we come for the final time. John Boy in the slipstream. Mike's got just enough of a gap. He'll be able to hold on coming into the braking zone for the chicane. The last opportunity that John Boy's going to have now will probably be into the penultimate corner or the final corner. He needs to hold himself in a position where he can send one, but John Boy will get a little bit loose there. I think Mike is going to hold on here into the penultimate corner now. He's got more or less a couple of car lengths here in hand into the final corner. John Boy throwing a fade to the inside. It's not going to happen for him today in this second race. It's going to be Mike who comes out of the final corner at the Oschersleben to take 2 wins from 2 so far tonight. What a battle between those two, Mike and John Boy, all the way to the flag. Ozzy Albi's going to come over to take 3rd place, best of the rest here tonight. but couldn't quite live with the front two, who put on an absolute mega battle there out the front. Mike and John Boy, hats off to both of you. What a battle that was. Nick de Villa coming into the final corner. It's going to be a 4th place for him. He's just about a second ahead of Park Pooper, who's going to follow him through. But Nick de Villa a 4th place in the end. Park Pooper comes over to finish this one in P5 in the end. Cobb's going to come over to take P6 in this one. He's a few seconds clear of Doris Deer, who's just coming through up towards the line now. It's going to be a P7 here for Doris Deer. As we see, RJ Dale is going to be the next driver over the line. And he's coming into the final few corners. He's a long way behind. I think, actually, yeah, everybody who's below 7th is still yet to cross the line to finish. So Doris Deer, P7, RJ Dale coming over to take 8th place here in his 2nd race of the night. We see Smokey, or not Smokey, sorry, Champ there is a lap down, taking P11. He'll start from, I think, 2nd on the grid. Elafardi over to take 9th, Pot the Brown out of the final corner. It's going to be a P10 for him, not the race in this 2nd race, after taking a P4, a magnificent 4th place in the 1st race of the night. Champ already finished, and Smokey with the last driver over the line to take P12 here in his 2nd race of the night. But what a 2nd race that was. And Mike and John Boy leaving nothing out on the track. But Mike managing to hold on by 0.2 of a second ahead of John Boy. Ozzy Alvey completing the podium. Guys, we'll be back very shortly for the final race of the night. We'll be on a new stream that'll be posted on Discord very, very shortly. Be sure to join us. And yeah, can't wait for it. If it's anything like that 2nd race, then we're in for an absolute treat.